Hello, hello. I think I'm live. Maybe I was live for about 10 seconds. Hi, everyone. Welcome as you pop in here. If you're watching this on demand after, hello from the past. You are in the future. Um, Today, we're going to be going through day two of the 2025 Nerd Fitness Challenge. Um, Yesterday, if you missed it, we had a live stream video. We went over really laying the groundwork for a lot of what we're going to talk about over the next 5 days. Um, and just as a quick recap, we did kind of exploring your goals as you're heading into this, your big why, really trying to assess your current situation so that we have an understanding of what the baseline is and where we're starting from. And then taking those two things, we tried to understand what is it reasonable for me to commit to as far as workouts and nutrition as I start this. And that was kind of all that foundation groundwork that we did yesterday. And now today we're going to start looking at what are the key strategies and implementation steps to actually take those things and build fitness habits that last and that really work for us. So I'm going to be excited to dig into that with y'all today. As you pop in, I always love knowing who's here. Facebook live streaming, I don't see a ton. So let me know if you're here. Sound off in the comments. Would love to hear from you, where you're coming from. And I'm also going to go ahead and drop in the comments a link to the day two worksheet. So you can follow along, you can download it. Again, this will be going out in the email for everyone later as well. So should be good to go. Hey, George. Glad to see you here again. Kel, what's up? Always great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I think, honestly, I'm just going to launch right into it today. Super windy in Western Mass. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Margie from Bulgaria. Wonderful. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, it's been pretty awful weather here. We're still just yesterday was 35 and rain, which is basically the worst. I'd rather have snow or it be way warmer. 35 degrees Fahrenheit and rain is brutal. Um, Hello, Michigan. Hello, Baltimore. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so again, I have that worksheet built for you. Go ahead and download it, check it out, and I'll walk you through it step by step today. So now that we have the groundwork, like I said, we want to get into the specific action steps. What are the strategies that we use with our coaching clients that leads to the most success? And the thing we're going to talk about today is tracking your actions. This is one of the key pieces. And I know there's probably some of you that are watching this or listening to this and are just groaning about the idea of tracking things. And so let's break it down a little bit. Tracking can be a pain in the butt. Let's just be honest. Tracking anything can be a pain in the butt. But the different type of butt, it also has a huge impact on your overall process and progress. And why is that? It's because humans are terrible at remembering anything we did. Uh, and you can look at this on any kind of recall study where people are asked to like recall what they ate for the last week. I can't remember what I ate last night, barely, right? Versus like the last week. It's wildly inaccurate. We even see this in like courtrooms, right? People like eyewitness testimony can't necessarily be trusted because just our recall isn't that great. So it really tracking and having some objective data that we can rely on really gives us an opportunity to make better informed choices moving forward. It is really crucial in that way. Oh, my goodness, my whole power just flickered. Hopefully I'm still live. Okay, I think I'm still live. Yeah, crazy. Power just flickered. I want to be clear here too. When I say tracking, I don't mean that you have to track all your calories and macros here. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, you can if you want to. I'm referring to tracking whether or not you did stick to the thing. Did you do the plan on a day to day basis? So, did you do your workout? Yes, no. Did you eat a protein with your lunch? Yes, no. Uh, it was your step count X amount? Yes, no, right? Like very specific yes, no questions about whether you're implementing the plan that you picked out for yourself. The other thing to remember here is that you don't have to be perfect and track everything all the time for it to be helpful either. You just need enough information that you can make smart adjustments as you go. So, whatever that percentage is, like I've had people track 50% of the time and we're still able to get some good insights out of that and make some choices about what we're going to do next or how we're going to adjust things. Um, and this is something I think that is a truth about building fitness habits that last. It's not going to be the same plan now as it will be 6 months from now, as it will be from 1 year from now. To truly build habits that last, things are going to adjust as you go because your life in the context you live in is going to change over time. You're not the same person you were, like, you're not living the exact same lifestyle, I would imagine, 20 years ago as you are now. And so we need to be able to adapt to that. That's what's going to make our habits resilient and able to stick for the long haul. So let's get into specifics. Um, I want you to take your answer from yesterday's live stream when you answered, what can I reasonably commit to as far as workouts and nutrition? And we're going to use that to answer and fill in today's worksheet. So, the first question, what will you track? What are the things we're going to track? Uh, are you going to be tracking workouts? At what level? We could track, did I do the workout? Yes, no. And it could just be that. That's good enough. Maybe it's I want to track also how challenging that workout was. Was it too hard, too easy, just right? What level was that? Am I at? Maybe I also want to track the exact workout I did, the exercises, the sets, the reps, the weights I used. Whatever level of fidelity you want to get to here is okay, but we want to track something. Um, are you going to track your step count? That's something we do with, I mean, probably at least 50%, if not more, of our clients track their step count at some point because it's a really good way to kind of get a baseline picture of what your overall activity levels are. So maybe you're tracking that. Maybe you're tracking your daily nutrition habit if that's what you're doing. So you're saying like, hey, did I eat protein? I have a protein nutrition habit I'm working on. Did I get protein at this meal? Yes, no. Maybe you're doing a bigger food log, either like taking photos of your food or tracking in a nutrition app. Let's just say, like, what are you planning to track? Go ahead, take a minute, think about it. And I would love for anyone who's live here with me in the chat to sound off what are like one or two things that you want to track that are related to your goals, your big why, heading into the new year? What are some things that are on your mind that you want to keep track of? And it can be simple. I'm going to track my workouts. I'm going to track my food. I'm going to track a nutrition habit. I'm going to track my sleep. I'm going to track my step count. Like, what are some of the things that y'all are tracking? Go ahead and sound off in the comments for me if you'd like. I'll give everyone a minute. George, tracking miles and protein. Awesome. I love it. Tracking miles, I'm guessing, are you doing rucking, walking, running, any specific way that you're tackling those miles this year? And protein, awesome. Michael, food and exercise. Yep. Do you have, and we'll get even more specific into that too. Food and exercise. I mean, those are the baselines, right? Those are the baselines. Food and exercise, great. And we can get more specific with what exactly we're tracking and how we're tracking it. Tracking workouts and reading, Carolyn, that sounds amazing. Kel, struggling to track food, going to be better about trying to snap a picture, great. Priya, steps and water, great. Aldis, steps, workouts, food. Liz, food log, exercise, sleep with your Pokemon Sleep app. Great. Love it when we can add something fun to it. Margie, step count and workouts. Awesome. Molly, workouts, including sets and weights for retraining. And just if I did cardio, yes, no. Calories, sigh. Pleasure. I'm hoping the pleasure is like did I do these things for pleasure? Did I do some of the joy things in my life? I'm guessing. Okay, sweet. These are all great. Now we have an idea of what we're going to track because we want this data to be able to make well-informed decisions. We want to think about how we're going to track it. And there are three criteria that I use when setting this up. And I do believe that this is part of what makes our system useful. So the first thing is that whatever your tracking method you pick, it needs to be easily accessible to you. Having a notebook that's buried in your desk that you rarely see is just not going to be a great method for tracking things. You want something that's visual, that's something that you're going to run across multiple times throughout your day to kind of help remind you that you're doing this thing, you're trying to track this thing. So maybe it's a calendar on your wall where you mark X when you complete a habit or do a workout or whatever. Maybe it's your favorite habit, fitness, or nutrition app. Maybe it is a notebook, but it's a notebook you keep on you, you open regularly, etc. Maybe it's the Notes app on your phone. Whatever it is, you want to try to have it be something that's front and center. If it's going to be an app on your phone, we want it on the home screen, or we want it on the menu bar right next to like texting or whatever that you're going to see all the time. We've even had people in our coaching program, we've recommended that they make their home screen blank and the only app on the home screen is the Nerd Fitness coaching app, because we're trying to encourage them to interact and engage in the process. And that's all part of this. If you want to build habits that last, you have to engage in the process of building them, and it takes effort and it takes time. So that first part, how are we going to track it? Would love to hear, do you have a plan for how you're going to track it? Is it going to be an Excel sheet? Is it going to be an app? Is it going to be a calendar, notebook? What is your favorite method of tracking? Drop it in the comments for me. I'd love to see it. George, I also think I saw you're reading book 9 of Wheel of Time. I have every single book in my closet over here, and that's my favorite series of all time. So I think I saw you posted something about that yesterday. So I'll forgive you if you're too busy reading because you're reading Wheel of Time. You are forgiven. Okay. Now that we have an idea of what method we're going to use, there's two other things that I think are really important when we're thinking about how we're tracking this data. The second one is we want to break down these tracking steps into action steps that you can track as you go. So for some of these things, like if you're tracking your workout, sure, you're like, I'm tracking as I go. If I'm recording my sets, reps, and weights, sure, I'm tracking as I go. Cool. Not a big deal. If you're taking photos of your food or logging your food in an app that's tracking calories, sigh, then you're probably gonna be tracking that as you go too. But again, we just talked about this. Recall is really challenging. Tracking things as you go tends to give you better data, and it has the benefit of giving you a little bit of dopamine, a little bit of reward for saying like, hey, I just did this thing. I did this thing. And you're getting that immediate feedback. Humans are really, really good at immediate feedback loops, and we struggle a little bit more with delayed rewards, right? So I want to reinforce the fact that you just did the thing. So here's an example. Let's say you're doing a nutrition habit and you've decided you want to eat more protein. I saw a couple of people mention this. And let's say that you decide to use a notes app and your goal is that you want to eat 3 servings of protein a day. Having just one checkbox or one thing to mark off at the end of your day that says, hey, I'm going to have 3 servings of protein can work for some people, but I found it is harder to implement because you're having to remember at the end of the day, you're like, what did I have today? Did I get the 3 servings of protein? It just feels a little bit more muddied versus I have 3 separate checkboxes that each say I ate 1 serving of protein, and those are on a day. Now, as I eat the thing, I check off the box. Not only do I get that little bit of reward in the moment, but then long term, I have better data because I can say, oh, on Thursdays, I tend to only get 2 servings of protein. I can see that. Whereas if I was only checking off that one box, all I'd know is Thursdays, I don't get 3 servings of protein in. It's not giving me as much detail, and it can really be helpful. So I find it's good from a motivation standpoint, and it's also good from a data standpoint to break these down into smaller action steps if you're doing habit-based approach. The third thing with how to track it that I'd highly recommend is you really want these action steps or these goals to be written in a way that you can clearly answer, yes, I did this thing, or no, I did it at the end of the day. Going back to our healthy eating example, let's say, like we're trying to change our diet. I ate healthy today. Checkbox, yes, no, is really actually pretty ambiguous and vague. At what point does, like, let's say you had salad and chicken for lunch, but then you had like Cheetos in the afternoon. Is this no longer a healthy day? Like, where are we at? How do we determine that? Where's the line? It becomes very subjective, and it is harder to say, yes, I did this thing, or no, I didn't. Versus, I ate a serving of protein with lunch. I had an apple for my afternoon snack. That's very specific. We can build off of that. So we're going to track our actions in something that's easily accessible. We're going to track our nutrition, our step count, our workouts, whatever things are relevant to your goals. We want to do it in a way that we can track it as we go so that we're able to get the reward for doing the thing, but also have better data. And then we're also going to write those things in a way where we can clearly answer, yes, I did this versus no, I didn't at the end as you're answering those questions. Hopefully that makes sense. I would love, now that you know the full scope of like how we're going to track it, take a minute and think about one of the things that you mentioned up here, how you're going to track the thing. Now, again, if you're saying like, hey, I'm tracking calories, maybe that's pretty specific, right? Or I'm going to track my workouts, including sets, reps, and weights. Great, you've got that. If you're doing any kind of like more habit-based thing, like reading, pleasure, sleep, maybe do nutrition habits in a different way. Are there ways that you can phrase that? Are there things that you're thinking about now that you feel like are going to be helpful for you? I'd love to hear if you have any examples. Following up on some of the responses I missed, George, yeah, protein with MyFitnessPal app, Miles with a Runkeeper app, perfect. Molly, an app for calories, your notebook for exercise, a journal for pleasure, perfect. Liz, a health folder for all your health-based apps on your phone, plus you have spreadsheets in Google Drive, great. Michael, the Trainerize app, or Trainer Size app, maybe that's different. We used to use Trainerize, so maybe I'm conflating those two. Cool. Okay, if you have any ones that you want to share, if you want to drop them down below, your specific, like, this is the thing I want to track, this is how I'm phrasing it. I'd be happy to take a look and provide feedback. Let's move to the final step for today, which is scheduling out. Oh, George, believe me, we're going to get to the additive method later on. I didn't hit it today, but we're going to definitely touch on it. But, sneak peek. The final step that I want you to take today is look at your calendar and schedule out a day 1 to 4 weeks in advance to review all the data that you've collected. We call this the zoom in, zoom out method. So during the week, I want you laser focused on just like whatever your action steps are for the day. Maybe you're going to work out, you're going to read for 10 minutes, you're going to eat the protein. You're going to log your food. I want you laser focused on those things. But you're collecting data throughout. Then at a specific point in time, you're going to step back, look at what you've done, and then ask yourself these three key questions, right? What went well? What was a challenge? And knowing those things, what do I want to change for this next period of time? And really that process of data collection, setting yourself up for success with tracking, and then having these moments in time where you step back and look at what you've learned and what you've gathered, that is the thing. If you can do that on repeat, you're going to continue to improve your fitness habits and continue to get better and better. This is what we do for our clients, right? I have clients where I do it on a weekly basis. I have clients where we do it on a monthly basis. We're doing like a bigger zoom out. And I'm saying, hey, this is the data we have. We saw that you completed X out of Y workouts. We see that you did these habits this many times. Based on this information, I think that this is the next step that we should take. And that's really the iterative process here of improvement over time. You know, and you'll be surprised, I think, once you start doing this. I have clients that are really hard on themselves mentally. They're just like, if they miss a day, if they have one thing that went off plan or whatever, and they just think to themselves like, I didn't do anything this week. And then I say data, and I'm like, and I have data for them. I'm like, hey, look, actually, you did 4 workouts this week. You missed 1. Like, you already did 4. Like, this is still good. We can build off of this, right? And so sometimes the data, it's really interesting. It's like, it proves to people that they actually did something more than they thought, and then we build off of that. And I've also had it go the other way, where you know, you could be feeling like, I've done so much, like, why aren't things changing? We look at the data and we're like, actually, we've done about 30% or 40% of what we intended to do. Maybe that's not enough based on your goal. Maybe you're feeling like it was a lot because this was stretching you because your schedule is super crazy and stuff. So let's figure out what we do from here. Like knowing that, what do we do? And so it's trying to look at it like you're a scientist. You're trying to experiment and learn from your own experiences. Okay. Now that we know what we're tracking, we know how, and we have a time set up to review and check in with ourselves. This is going to be a core of our practice moving forward. The next step we're going to talk about tomorrow on Friday is how do we make this process easier. So that will be what I'll cover tomorrow. Hopefully this was helpful for you today. I will stick around since it's a live stream for anyone who's around and wants to do a short Q&A on anything that I covered today or any general fitness, nutrition, mindset questions. Be happy to stick around and answer some. If you're watching the video on demand after, good luck. You can send responses back to the email if you want me to take a look at them. I read everything that you send back to me. You can post here in the Facebook channel. We'd love to cheer you on if you're in our Facebook group here. And we're going to keep on building the rocket ship so it can fly. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll kick off a live Q&A now. If anyone has any questions, happy to hang around and answer them. You know, Molly, that's an interesting point. Is that, and this is a refinement of the process, is that sometimes I have people that want to track data, but the data isn't necessarily useful, right? So that's one of the things that we ask ourselves is like, what am I going to do with this data once I have it? And I think there is such a thing as having data that ends up being noise because it's not necessarily actionable or useful or whatever. Now, if it's just doing it automatically in the background, like whatever, right? But I do think that's a real thing that happens within this tracking action steps section. Based on my George, based on my experience, is there an optimal number of actionable goals per day that's a sweet spot? That's a great question. I I used to think pretty strongly that the answer was 1 to 2, basically, like 1 to 2 real actionable goals that you were fixated on and focused on. But I think the answer is like most things in life, like it depends. It's a little bit more complex than that. I think it part of what it depends on is like your situation, right? Like how much time, energy, effort do you have available to pour into this? I think that's going to adjust things. I think it also depends on what action steps you're choosing to do and how far away those action steps are from your current behaviors. So, for example, let's say you're already reading 5 minutes a day and you want to read 10 minutes a day. That might not be that hard. That might not require a ton of extra effort, energy, and focus. And so that could be something that's on there. Or we have people in our coaching program that have things that are on their daily to-do list, but they're almost more of like a mental check, like maintenance mode, keeping things going. Um, and those things I think are less draining, and so you can have more of them. Uh, is some of it. Um, so yeah, my gut would still be to say like 1 or 2 like really big changes at a time are probably a good thing to focus on, and then you can always build from there. We talked about this yesterday, but it's way easier to level up and add more than it is to step back. I think like just mentally, there's a feeling when you're leveling up that like, oh, look at how much I was crushing this. I can now take on more. Versus when you feel like you're having to like pare back, it just doesn't feel as good. Even if you know mentally, like this is okay, this is part of the process. I'd rather set you up to be on the ramp up than the ramp down, if that makes sense. Great question though. You're welcome, Carolyn. Thanks for coming. Any other? Yeah, wrong. The answer is 7. Is that how many you have in your app right now, George? You being called out? All right. We'll stick around for like 2 more minutes in case there's any other questions that kind of trickle in here. If you have any uh, Q&A, general Q&A for me, fitness, nutrition, mindset stuff, hit me up. And then if don't hear from anybody in the next couple minutes, we'll shut down the stream for today. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time, noon Eastern. And then I'm going to work on getting an email together. So all of you who are joining us via email versus the live stream uh, will be very happy to, well, I'll get out the information, get all the information out to you. You're welcome, Molly. What is my favorite book of the Wheel of Time? Really tough one. I think it's probably book 4, The Shadow Rising, or something near the end. I do think that Brandon Sanderson did a great job finishing off the series, which felt like an impossible task. I remember reading it when it was coming out. Robert Jordan was still writing them book by book, and it felt like he's just creating so many loose threads. How is it possibly? How is he possibly going to wrap them all up? Book 7's Crown of Swords. I don't think that's the best book. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. All right. Talk to you later.